folks, Dad here with Elevation Diecast Racing. It's time for the VanTastic New Year's modified qualifying portion of this event. Where today we're going to look at all of these that you voted on. Best in show. Now we're going to see who's got the fastest modified build. VanTastic. Lots of different makes, lots of different models, lots of different builders. So we're going to go through all 33, set up a bracket for the next portion of this event. So first up, Dutch Vandershift from Dutch Clutch Racing in his VW ID Buzz 99 grams. Roll number 1. And we'll try that again. 2052. And for run number 2, 2038. Setting TQ. Next up from Stone Ponies Racing in his Baja Breaker. Run number 1, 2019. Wow. And for his second run, 2012, resetting TQ. Entry number 3, Clay Olson from 131 Diecast. $2029, and for his second run, 2027. Next up, Cut Rocker Diecast. It's Mark D. Run number 1, 2030, and for run number 2, 2023. Next up, E67 Diecast. It's Papa E in his Dodge. Sounded good. 2031. And for his second run, 2018. Next up from Variant Skunkworks. This one's Gramps Senior. Nice and quiet. 2045, and for run number 2, 2034, and for Gramps, 2027, and for run number 2, 2026. Track temperature 72 degrees. Next up is Sinestro from Sinestro Racing. $2042, run number 2. Sounds really good. 2042 again, running consistent. Next up, Alva 1370. Really glad to have you here. Run number 1. 2046, good time. And for run number 2, 2039. Next up is Abnormal Speed. This is Abby Normal. 2172. And for run number 2, 218. Next up, it's Diecast Show Customs with his Spider-Man van. $2029, and for his second run, 2018. All right, up next is Arlo. Let's see if he can reset TQ. The time is 2012. Sounds really good. 2009, there it is. And for his second run, 2006. Very nice. Next up, the first entry from Excel DC Racing. Run 1. 2117. And for his second run, 2103. Better run this time. And for his second entry, 30 more grams to this one. 2212. And for his second run, 2457. So the wheels do roll just fine, but if you look closely, a lot of rust in that axle, which is going to cause these to roll a little slower than they ought, just so you know. Next up, we got Craigster Sr. from Hot Nuts Diecast. (2020), and for his second run, 2012. Good time. Next up, a couple from Bobby D's Lakeside Raceway. 2034. And for his second run, 2028. And for Bobby D's second entry, it's the Bright Drop. Noisy. 2038. Of course, these things were never quiet going down the track in the first place. Sounds good, though. 2031. Very nice. Next up, from Aces High Racing, it's Spy Dude. 2057. And for run number 2, 2050. Next two coming from CD Racing. First is the Rapid Transit. 2041. And for his second run, 2029. Good time. And the next one from CD Racing, 2033. And for run number 2, 2022. Good time. Next up, it's the Cash Money Boys and their solo entry, 2054. And for run number 2, 2037. Next up, it's HSL Diecast, 2082. And for run number 2, 2081. Next up, it's Milestone Racing, 2019. Nice. And for his second run, 2017. Very good. Next up from Madman Racing, it is Mad Mike. Take it out on the gas pedal, Mike. 2038. And for his second run, 2030. Next up, we have Zizzer Prime from Zizzer Diecast Racing, 2045. And for his second run, 2036. Next up, it is Hot Rod Customs, your driver Hot Rod. 2045. And his second run, 2034. Next up, two from Bavarian Diecast. First up is Spider-Man, 2026. And for run number 2, 2015. And for Marcus's second entry, 2049. Pass number 2. 2045. Next up is 2 from the Racing Scale Racing Channel. It's his Ford Transit. Run number 1. So quiet. 2011. Woohoo boy. Arlo still has TQ. Does that change here? $2,008. Wow. And for best looking van in the show, it is the Punisher. Let's go. Run number 1. 2014. Wow. Can he best a 2014? 2009. Wow. All right, up next, no stranger to Mile High or White Lightning Raceway or racing. It's Blue Line. 2012. And run number 2. 2001. There it is. Resetting TQ. Next up, Sean Cook in his Baja Breaker. Woo! Baja in it. 2087. Not bad for those Baja wheels. Run number 2. 2057. That's real good. And last up will be Kirk Parker. Run number 1. Sounds really good. 2029. Good time. 2029. And a 2020. So we had 2 of the same times. 2034 and 2045 by Hot Rod Customs and Variant Skunk Works. So we're going to run them off again and determine the placement. First we'll roll Variant Skunk Works and then we'll roll Hot Rod Customs. 1 pass in each lane. 2042. Next pass. 2043. All right, the A-Team has to best a number 2042. 2047. 2035 does it. Okay, top qualifier is Blue Line Racing, and here is the qualifying order in which these are ran. I will filter these into the bracket, and I'll let you look at the list of the numbers for those keeping score at home. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to get better at this. But if you see a mistake, please point it out to me. And I think we should be all right. And the running order. And a look at the list. So the highlighted row is the placement. Of course, I did have to go back and correct some things. So hopefully I got everything taken care of and everything looks good. That's it for qualifying modified round. We will see you on race day and night.